Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to this special webinar series that we are running today. I'm Dr. Akash Raut, the Head Academic Advisor at Cambridge International Education South Asia, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Cambridge Advanced Level Program. And in this webinar, we are going to throw some light on how do we prepare the learners with the Cambridge Advanced Level programs and qualifications with the right skill sets that will make them future ready. So over the next 1 hour, we are going to look at the different aspects of the Cambridge Advanced Level Program, how it is offered, what kind of possibilities do learners get to learn, how does it shape their thinking, their acquisition of knowledge, and the skill sets. And in all of this, what is the future progression for our learners once they complete their education? Some housekeeping rules. We will be enabling the chat box whenever required for some activities, some discussion. Also, there is a Q&A section which is available for you to post your questions. However, I'll be able to take most of the questions towards the end of this webinar. I will answer a couple of questions as I go through my slides, talk to you all, present some information. So most of your questions will be covered during my presentation. I hope that is perfectly fine with everyone. And without any further ado, let's get started. So before we get on to the discussion, I want you all to think about your school days when you all were in school in your 10th and your 12th grade. What kind of an education did you have? And for doing this activity, I would want you all to scan this QR code. And if you don't have the QR code option, if you are on your phones, I will also put the joining link in the chat box so that you can click on this link and answer the questions in a couple of words. I will allow all the participants in the room to take 30 to 40 seconds to click on the link or scan the QR code and respond to this question, which you see on the screen. What words would you use to describe your education when you were between 16 to 18 years old? That is 10th grade or 12th grade in most of the countries in South Asia. I can see 3 responses already on the screen. I'll wait for another 10 to 12 seconds to see if we have got some more responses. All right. So I take these as the common responses from most of the participants in the room. That is, it was exam heavy, it was content heavy, there were too many exams, there was a lot of focus on the rote learning aspect, which is primarily to do with memorization of concepts and theories and formulas. And I completely get all of your points, the ones who have at least put their responses in the chat box. And yeah, I can see a lot of responses coming on screen now, and I can see the entire Mentimeter focusing on the responses given by the participants. So rote learning, content heavy, not application based, book oriented, stereotype learning. Some also mentioned it was excellent. It was irrelevant for some of us. It was good for most of us. too many exams. So the words which you see in the center of this screen is primarily the ones which a lot of you have unanimously answered. Now, if that is your uh, common response, I move on to my next question, which is about what does it mean when we say we want our learners to thrive in a changing world? We want them to be future ready. We want them to see what kind of opportunities will lie in front of them and how are they going to succeed in them, or how are they going to address the challenges which come in front of them. What comes to your mind when we say we want our young learners to thrive in the changing world? So I would request again 30 seconds of quick thinking where I would like to see your responses on the screen. Okay. Wow. I can see most of the parents, most of the uh, families over here who are attending this session believe that we want the learning to be in such a manner that our learners are able to enjoy it. They are able to adapt to the learning systems. They turn out to be smart learners. And of course, there are multiple other words which come around, that is being open-minded, education as for the future, being connected globally. It needs to be application-based. They need to have essential skills. They should be able to experiment and enjoy, and to be competent in the future. It should be experiential use of technology, ability to manage challenge. Lovely. So I think in a nutshell, we all in the room, we feel that yes, our learners need to be able to be ready to address the challenges of the future, for which they will need these essential skills of adaptability, of flexibility, of knowing the unknown and still using their wisdom to crack the challenges and move ahead. So that's good to see. I'll wait for another 5 seconds. I can still see some people responding and the Mentimeter moving around. Lovely. So on this note that we have got our two discussions done. One is how was our education when we were 16 to 18 years old, that is 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade and the pre-university years. And considering our young learners today, what does it mean to thrive in a changing world, which is changing at such a rapid speed where it becomes at times difficult to keep a tab on, are we doing enough for our learners? So connecting this to why we are here today. We are here today to know more about, or probably refresh our understanding of what the Cambridge programs and qualifications are. Um, from the data that I received before I started the webinar, I realized that a lot of parents in the room, a lot of attendees in the room have got their children uh, who are Cambridge school students who are studying in either primary, lower secondary, or IGCSE years, or O-level programs in our other countries in South Asia. So this is one question I personally feel we all keep having at the back of our mind. What is different with Cambridge? What does Cambridge do with learners when they study? Because the concepts, or I would say the content, remains the same, be it our languages, be it mathematics, sciences, humanities, or creative subjects. So what happens differently in a Cambridge classroom? We'll be answering uh, a bit about that in this webinar today. And I'll also be giving you some handy tools so that you can also explore and engage with your young learners at home, your children at home, to enable their learning process in a stronger manner. So first and foremost, I would like to connect it with this one thought, which is very close to my understanding of the Cambridge as an educational body. We are a part of the University of Cambridge, and we are Cambridge International Education. Like in the common man's language, we are the Cambridge Board. And when I say we are the Cambridge Board, of course, in the school segment, we have been working for more than 100 years now. But when I talk about Cambridge as an education body and its association as a university itself, it goes back to as old as 816 years old. And why am I stressing on this? It's primarily to focus on the quality and the rich experience it brings along with it, keeping in mind what the future is going to need. And this is who we are. We are Cambridge International Education, and we represent the University of Cambridge. We have a rich history of almost 161 years of working as an examination body. But at the same time, we have a deep influence on the research that happens around international education. And this is primarily the reason we have got our presence in more than 160 countries. Our programs are for children right from the age of 3, that is nursery or preschool, till advanced level, that is the pre-university program. And not just that, we also work with ministries very closely to support the government bodies in terms of their uh, educational aspirations in different countries. And how it enables the learners, or I would say the families, the schools, is that we work in collaboration. We work as an entity, we work in togetherness to shape the learners who are going to be the future citizens who are going to shape the world they are going to get into. And that's the reason, focusing on that future readiness, focusing on the right knowledge systems, the right skill sets that we are going to give it to our learners is certainly going to be really important. Now, how do we do all of this? Most of you would be aware of our Cambridge pathway. That is, we offer programs from the Cambridge early years till the Cambridge A levels. Now, when I say early years to A levels, the early years program till IGCSE is basically what we cover in the preschool till grade 10. And when I say it is the advanced level program, it is primarily the grades 11 and 12. So if I break it down in smaller chunks, it's the preschool, that is the Cambridge early years. It is Cambridge primary, that is grades 1 to 5. Cambridge lower secondary, that is grade 7, 8, and 6, 7, and 8. And Cambridge IGCSE or upper secondary, which also has the O level program, that's for grades 9 and 10. Now, post this, the students come to grades 11 and 12, and it's a 2-year program. When I say Cambridge Advanced, it's a 2-year program that is for AS level and A level. Now, before I dive into the Cambridge Advanced level program in detail, I am going to talk a bit about something interesting that we have done recently. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Cambridge certainly works as a stronger research body to know what is going to happen in the future of education in a couple of years, and how are we working with those changes, with those challenges. Now, if I back it up further with what we have done recently, is that we have come up with this future skills report. And in this report that our UK colleagues and the research team over has come out with, is it primarily gives us a complete overview of how children, the students, how the educational experts and the teachers, the educators, are thinking about the future of education and how are we going to help our learners to thrive in this educational setup. So if I give you an overview of what we did at the hindsight, was we engaged with as good as 7,000 teachers across the globe, and also loads of different organizations, be it the UNESCO, be it the OECD, be it the World Heritage Group, the Psychological Association, the American Psychological Association, all of them to give us inputs on what is going to happen in the coming years. And as you can see it on the screen, we got responses from as good as 150 countries to give us a holistic perspective of, are we doing enough for our learners, or what should be our next steps be when we navigate through the different challenges in the education domain. So I'm not going to read out the entire report because it's quite extensive. But what I'm certainly going to do is I'm going to give you a kind of some key findings for you as parents. And I also know there are some educators who are attending this webinar. There must be some students who are attending this webinar. This will be some really good insight for you to think about how are you planning the coming years of your education journey. Now, uh, I think for a couple of people, my voice is not clearly audible. I would request you all to check the volume settings at your end because I did check it with my IT team in the back end and the volume is quite clear for everyone. And I can also see there are some thumbs ups coming in the emojis on the screen. So thanks for giving that acknowledgement. So continuing from there, I'm going to present these 5 key findings that we had from the report. Number one, what we found was uh, that students are more prepared for the future than they think they are. We all know how a couple of things are getting disrupted these days. The intervention of AI or the technology, the subjects that learners wish to choose, the career options that they think are going to evolve. Considering all of this, when we look at how our students are doing right now and what is the future going to look like, uh, there is a common notion that students are more prepared for the future than they themselves think they are. I'll talk more about this in a moment. Secondly, about the subject knowledge, because the pull and the push that we all keep on getting most of the times, what's more important? Is it the knowledge or are those the skills? That is another finding that we had through this report, that subject knowledge is considered essential for students' progression through the formal education, but it is undervalued, kind of undervalued in the long run. And what should be the mechanism to overcome this thought that we have? Because if I connect it to one of the Mentimeter links that we had in the beginning, the thought that we have, which is around rote learning, memorization, overpowers a lot of our children and also the parents. So subject knowledge at times takes a back seat when it comes to a long-term progression. Thirdly, when we look at the skills, primarily, the thought that came around the communication skills, okay, is considered to be far more important for the future. Uh, However, the teachers, when we interviewed them, when we got the responses from them, the educator fraternity, they felt that the students' fear of judgment, and this can become one of the barriers for their learning. Furthermore, and I could see a couple of thumbs ups. Thanks for reiterating that. I'm sure a lot of adults who are in this room, who are parents, guardians, caregivers, educators, might also be feeling that students have loads of wonderful thoughts. They have lots of ideas going on in their mind, but somewhere deep down they feel that I might be judged and I might be questioned. So I think that's a key takeaway for us as well. How do we build in those essential oracy skills, communication skills, ability to critically think and also articulate the ideas in an effective manner is really important. Fourth, the teachers and the students view self-management, or I would say self-regulation, as one of the skills which is critical for the future. But I'm sure a lot of parents who are attending this session would also agree with me that it's difficult to imbibe this skill, or I would say to teach them and to learn self-regulation and self-management as a skill. So as a former educator myself, I would just give one tip over here before we move ahead, that uh, give ample time for children to think and to listen and then to process their information, because under the race of presenting something, they come up with some thoughts on their mind and they feel that this is the best thought that they have, and by the time it gets executed they realize, no, I think I could have worked more on this, be it their homework, their worksheets, maybe solving past papers. The ability to be patient, the ability to regulate their own ways of working, their study habits, their learning skills will certainly help them in a longer run. And what you see on point number 4 is this is one of the critical skills which is extremely important for the future, especially in an age where information is going to be bombarded. How do we help our learners to think what's right and what's wrong, and how do they select between the right and wrong? So those ability, or I would say the innate motivation to know it from a personal lens, but also managing their own thoughts, feelings, and emotions when they express themselves is really important. And last but not the least, I'm sure all of you in the room will agree with me, technology is a valuable tool. Right now, I'm not talking to any of you in person. You're seeing me on a screen. It is an essential tool to enhance the learning, but if it's used effectively, or else we all know it's also a tool which can distract them from their goals, from their objectives, and their skills as an effective learner. So these were the key findings of our report, and I'm happy to share that I'm going to focus on two of these skills in detail. That's the first two, because that's kind of critical to start thinking about. First and foremost, students, they believe that they are better prepared for the future or not. And the report says that yes, they are better prepared, but you will be surprised to see when we did this research and when we asked student, okay, and a starting point for our survey was this, to understand how well students think they are better prepared for the future. And less than half told us that they feel prepared for the next step in education, which is moving towards A level or their degree program. But it's only less than half. So if you see, 52% still has got that journey to cover. And when we asked students during our qualitative interviews, we also wanted to know what makes them feel so. So, what you see on the screen is one of the anecdotal responses we got from a student in South Asia, where we asked the students to let us know why are they feeling so. And they spoke about the change of environment, the depth of study, uh, and the unpreparedness that they feel in certain areas is kind of overpowering them. Of course, this is one student's view, what we are seeing on the screen, but if I keep this as a generalized outcome, it can serve as a strong example to help us understand why many students feel less prepared than they are actually prepared for the future. On the contrary, you would be surprised to know when we ask the same question to the teachers, okay? And we believe as the community of educators that learners are more prepared for the future than they think they are. Now, what makes us say this? Of course, linking it with research again. First of all, teachers think that students are well prepared. Now, one thing we cannot negate that teachers are uh, carrying a lot of rich experience with them, not just as content experts, but also someone who has seen multiple level of students, the batches, the cohorts, whom they have taught for multiple years. And keeping that thought in mind, they're generally optimistic that students are well prepared for the future and take the next steps in education. And when they finish the education, they are able to navigate through the challenges in a smoother manner. Secondly, when we ask them about how are they able to translate all of this in their learning, okay, so the response that we got was also quite fascinating, because we as education body, and I would say the fraternity of teachers, I'm sure most of the parents over here, when they visit the schools and they talk to the teachers, they get these kind of responses, that optimistic, that hopeful feeling, because the fact is students are still 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. They are young enough, they are still not ready to explore the wisdom of the world. That will only come with experience. And that is one thing where a lot of adults, a lot of principals, a lot of teachers feel that the students are ready with. And what we also found out was students are developing more than the knowledge through their advanced level programs. So the Cambridge AS and A level program certainly gives them those valuable skills and attributes which will serve them a lot in the future. And many of these skills are developed implicitly. They're very subtle. They may not come out on an exam paper or a worksheet, but it comes out in their thinking, in their way of processing information. Like if I give you this example of A level geography as one of the key subjects, Geography is not just seen as a kind of subjects which students only need if they want to do humanities or social studies. Geography as a subject certainly builds some strong systems thinking skills in learners. And when I say systems thinking, it is primarily the ability that students will have to solve complex problems. Now, we live in a complex world, and all the parents who are in the room, the working parents, or even those parents, the mothers or grandmothers who are attending the sessions, or the fathers who are attending the session, who see how families run as well, we live in complex world. Now, to solve complex problems, be it see government related or the corporate setup that we keep talking about at workplaces or businesses and enterprises, to solve these complex problems of complex situations, you need complex level thinking, that is systems thinking. How do you connect the dot from one to another, the knowledge systems that you gain to apply it in the real life scenario? And I think that was one of the key areas we explored it on slide number 2, that children really need to be adaptable. They will have lots of knowledge and information, but they will also need to know, where am I going to take all of this in my real life? So when you are seeing your child in IGCSE or lower secondary, one of the questions which I often get from parents in schools is, how do we support them in their learning? I'll only give you three very basic, zero cost, but effective responses to this. Number one is, make them thinkers. Don't give them answers on the spot. Help their curiosity, that inquisitiveness, to thrive more and more. Only then they will be able to understand the difference between right and wrong. Otherwise, as I said earlier, the world outside is flooded with a lot of information, and they will have to navigate through all of this on their own. Secondly, help them ask effective questions. The more they will ask questions, the more they will think. And the more they ask better questions, the more they will know, where am I going to connect the information that I have, the facts that I have in the world outside. And last but not the least, what I mentioned on the previous slide, the self-management skills. Knowing what is important, but knowing how, why, when, and where is equally important. When they bring in this basket of skill sets with them, they're certainly prepared for the world more than what they think they are. Moving on to the second one, that is, subject knowledge is considered essential for students' progression through formal education, but undervalued in a longer term. Now, this is one of the findings that we had with us. And before I share the data, it's worth explaining this point, because a lot of times what we see is, all right, you are that grade level studies or exams are done, you have got the result, now you're going to think about the next step. But we seldom see to it that we build from foundation to an advanced level. Like, no one will be in the position to solve difficult, or I would say complex, algebraic equations without having a stronger understanding of mathematical operations, for which the learning has to go on from the younger years till the higher grades. And that's one of the, I would say, areas which parents also struggle with, that my child hasn't learned the essential concepts as they should have learned. Because most of the times, it so happens that students gain the knowledge from the perspective of, I have to clear an exam. However, if you look at it from the lens of, knowledge is not just to clear the exam, knowledge is supposed to be one of the key foundations to survive in the world outside. And this is what I wanted to show you as the data points. Like, if you look at it, students felt that in getting on to the next steps of their education, they need stronger knowledge systems. But the same thing which was on the top, okay, followed by the other skill sets, be it of communication skills, self-management, digital skills, physical skills, the values, suddenly when they finish the education, students and surprisingly the teachers also felt that it's the least important area to be looked at. And I leave this question to all the parents and the attendees in the room. Is that so? Can we navigate in this world, even if we say we have got multiple tools, automation, and different ways of functioning? Can we say that knowledge is not important? Maybe the way we acquire knowledge, that concept is different now, or that entire shift has happened. However, if we look at the way knowledge is used in school and outside, it is quite fascinating to know that the foundational skills will never be eroded. And this is one of the quotes which we got as a kind of a feedback during our qualitative surveys from one of the students in India, where the student says, as AI gets more popular and more widely available, the need to memorize subject knowledge becomes less important, and we can find and implement the knowledge easily with the help of AI. However, and just to note this, this quote itself is quite illuminating. And I also would like to address to any students who are sitting in this webinar and listening to me, let's not forget that when we have AI as our supporting tool, as our second brain, as they call it, uh, we really need to know what kind of knowledge are we basing it with. And we are happy to have our colleagues from the University of Cambridge and other organizations, as I mentioned earlier, who are able to tell us what does it look like, or what changes should we be bringing around in our own thinking. So contradicting to what I showed you on the previous slide, this is something fascinating, which Professor Jaydeep Prabhu, who happens to be the professor of marketing, and he's also the Jawaharlal Nehru Professor of Indian Business and Enterprise from Cambridge Judge Business School. He says that I want to make the case for subject knowledge in the era of AI stronger. And he says that it actually matters more and not less in today's time. And if you don't have the knowledge, how will we know that what is being told to us by the AI? Is it right or wrong? So let's not say that knowledge is not important. We'll certainly need more knowledge, and I would say more clear knowledge, more co-constructed knowledge probably in this age to build our internal capabilities. So what can we do about it as parents, as teachers, as adults, as students themselves who are sitting in this webinar? Firstly, we need to reframe how we look at knowledge and how is knowledge understood. It is not equivalent to information, which can be just acquired by rote learning or memorization. It is a foundation for developing other essential skills. And knowledge, when combined with the ability to comprehend and transfer, brings you a lot of wisdom. Secondly, we need to help our students and teachers to understand that foundation needs to be actively constructed. And it is an ongoing process. You can never say that I have learned enough, I have acquired enough of knowledge. Knowledge is something that we also learn in our workspaces, and we co-construct it. We try to understand, is it just a fact, or can this knowledge also be challenged? And thirdly, which is my last statement over here, that we need to better demonstrate to students how the subject knowledge they're developing today can apply to their future experiences. And I'm going to cover a bit about that in my last part of the presentation now. Uh, how Cambridge Advanced Level is working on all of these things differently. How is it certainly catering to the knowledge systems, but also basing on stronger skill sets in the learners? So if the parents, the students, the teachers, the learners, I would say, who are in this room, if you would like to know more about the report and what were the findings, I'm going to paste the link in the chat box. I've also put the QR code on the screen. Please read it, give it a try. It's a fascinating report to help you understand how the future of learning really needs to be navigated in a more systematic manner. So moving ahead from here, we are now going to focus on how all of this comes together by the time the child reaches the Cambridge Advanced, that is Cambridge AS and A level. It's a 2-year program. And in our South Asia region, in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan, we see this as grade 11 and 12 level qualification. And uh, it is primarily for students when we say it's for 16 to 19 because we give that age bracket, but it is also contextualized to each region in South Asia. Like in India, a student is around 16 to 18 years old when they do their grade 11 and 12. Now, for those parents who are not aware about the Cambridge Advanced Level Program, a quick insight on that. It's a broad and balanced curriculum that we offer to students with over 55 subjects. And with all that I spoke in the past, it certainly develops their subject knowledge, the conceptual understanding, and the higher order thinking skills. Now, when I say subject knowledge, conceptual understanding, and higher order thinking skills, uh, it certainly places a lot of emphasis on how the learner learns rather than what is the learner learning. And that's the reason you will also see students who do their A levels are well prepared to the university programs in India, outside India. In India, also, I'll also emphasize a bit on that a little while later. How our students do prepare themselves for competitive exams that we have in India, be it the JEE or NEET, be it the CLAT examinations. Because when the students sit for the competitive exams, it thoroughly requires them to think critically. And critical thinking only comes when the learners not just gain knowledge as information, but they also see where do they apply all the knowledge that they have. And to fulfill all of this, we provide students and schools with ample high quality resources, be it in the form of books, be it in the form of study material, be it in the form of videos which they need to enhance their skill sets, and also the plethora of papers that we have on our school support hub, which is primarily accessed by schools only to help them get ready for the assessments as well. Moving ahead, every year, we see tens of thousands of Cambridge learners use their Cambridge International AS and A level qualifications, that is their 12th grade qualification, what we call in India and the other parts of South Asia, to enter the university. And from the world's top ranked universities to local higher education institutions, Cambridge students find that journey quite easy because they are ready enough with the knowledge that they need, with the content that they need based on their career aspirations. But along with that, they're also ready with the skill sets which university studies need for excelling and succeeding in the learning. Furthermore, I did touch upon this in the beginning that everything that Cambridge does, it's through thorough research. And I'm going back to that term legacy, which I used, the archives that we have with us from so many years of experience as a curriculum body, as an assessment body, helps us to understand how learners learn and how do they respond to examinations. That's the reason the way Cambridge believes in education, it works best uh, because we combine the curriculum, that is the syllabus, the content, the way the learners learn, the way the teachers teach, and the resources and the assessment which comes together to form an ecosystem for a good learning system by keeping in mind the personal growth and well-being of the students. Now, all in all, we all know that when the child is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 year old, there are loads of thoughts going on in their mind. Stress about, will I be capable enough when I get into the colleges and university? Is my learning taking me in the right direction, etc., etc. Now, keeping all of this thing in mind, the learning approach that we have to support the child uh, by keeping them engaged in the learning process, but also giving them that confidence, that understanding to stretch themselves and challenge themselves to reach their true potential. I think that's the beauty of the Cambridge Advanced Level program. It certainly prepares the children with the essential skill sets that universities demand from students all across the globe. When it comes to assessment, a quick tip on that, we run assessments thrice in India, that is the March series, the June series, and November series. Whereas in other parts of South Asia and world, we have the June series and November series. Now, the students will have to give their AS level exam to move ahead with the A level, or the students also have an opportunity to do A level together along with the AS at the end of their grade 12. The grade systems that we have is from A star to E at the end of A levels, where A star is considered to be the highest grade. Now, let me ask you one simple yet critical question. we all did mention a lot about skills. Okay. And I have showed some skills on the chat box, on the screen, sorry, for all of you. I want you all to think for a moment and ask yourself which of these skills are easy to learn and which of these are difficult to learn, or it takes a lot of time for any individual to learn. I just want you all to think for a couple of minutes, and the chat box is open for all of you. Let's think about which of these skills is the most difficult one to learn. Can you all put the responses in the chat box? Okay, I love this response from Mr. Abrar that all of them are difficult to learn because each one of us have different levels of potential, capabilities, the way we learn them, and the way we navigate with them in our learning journey. Oh, wow. I can see the responses coming up. Okay, I see one person mentioning analytical, then metacognition. Okay, I love this all going all across because it's certainly difficult. Like I remember many years ago as a teacher, I used to tell myself that just bringing students together and making them do a chart paper activity doesn't mean collaboration, or just talking to each other doesn't mean communication. They are essential skills which need refinement as the child moves on from one stage to another. It certainly needs them to think more beyond their own thinking and challenge the assumptions that are around them, and also try to know if this is not what is the truth, then how do I find what's the truth? Okay, I remember I was visiting a school last month, and I was amazed to see the first graders in that school who were learning in the Cambridge section were actually trying to find out, is tomato a vegetable or a fruit? Now, for all our life, we know that we learned tomato to be a vegetable, but the children were actually trying to research, were trying to apply their thinking, go to different books and ask different teachers in school to identify, is tomato a fruit or a vegetable? Now, that's such a simple thought, but imagine if children start questioning around the so-called the normal things that they see around them. It is certainly going to build a lot of these essential skills what we spoke since the beginning. And you all don't have to worry if the parents and the students who are sitting in this room, or the teachers who are in this room, who engage with learners in IGCSE lower secondary program and thinking about the A-level program. Cambridge International Education has certainly taken into consideration how these skills are well embedded in our syllabus, that is what we teach, and how do we make sure that learners are also ready to learn and take it up from the next stage. So the solution is in front of you. In Cambridge schools do this at different stages. Like if you are already a parent from a Cambridge school, you would agree with me. The Cambridge learner attributes play a critical role in the development journey of the child, um, around the knowledge that they get, the conceptual understanding they have, the skill sets they develop, and the learning habits. And you can do this at home as well as parents. Give your children the opportunity to become confident with their own skill sets. Uh, See to it that they are engaged and not just involved. They learn things, or they have that ability to stretch themselves to ask more in a more critical manner wherever required. Make them responsible for their own thinking, their own actions. Make them innovative. Now, innovation just doesn't come with technology. Innovation also comes with thinking. It could be as simple as I have always been I have always been doing my homework by making rough notes. Today, I'm going to use voice notes and probably engage myself with technology to learn better and see what is the difference in my retention power or retrieval power as a learner. That could be innovative. Reflective, certainly, because children need to contemplate, reflect on their own journey as a learner. Not everything that comes in front of them would be true. So, how do they validate all of this? And you would also be amazed to know that our team back in the UK have mapped all of these attributes with essential employability skills. How the reflective, confident, responsible, innovative, engaged, these attributes take the learners on a different journey all the way through their school and university and life beyond that. Now, when we connect all of this, you will see an ecosystem is formed in the child's life where they are able to transfer and adapt and be flexible in their life, making smarter choices and decisions. And whatever they wish to do in their career options, they wish to run a business, they wish to work for someone, or they have different plans. Because uh, I'm sure all of us as parents and adults in the room would know the jobs we see now in the market are not going to be the same in the next 10 years or 15 years or even 5 years. So, how do we make sure that our learners equip themselves for the level of workspaces which are going to be in the market in the coming years? Additionally, I'm not sure how many of you as parents here know about one of these beautiful programs that we have at Cambridge, which is the Cambridge Global Perspectives. As an educator, I would say this is at the core of Cambridge program because it's not just about teaching them a subject. It primarily teaches the philosophy of a subject. Like every subject has some essence in it. Math, biology, history, art, music, languages. So what children do in this program or this subject of global perspectives, which we have from Cambridge, primary till the advanced level, is they learn to do independent research. They learn about essential skills of communication, collaboration, problem solving, critical thinking. And how do they take all of this back, reflect on it, and come out with some meaningful actions? And if I give you simple examples, every science book has got units on pollution. But how many students critically think and analyze that, wait, if I'm going to burn the firecrackers for 5 days long during Diwali holidays, I am contributing to a greater chunk of pollution in my society, in my vicinity. As a citizen of this age and time, what should be my action around it? And I think to reach to that level of taking meaningful action, the child needs to go through a deeper reflection. And the more and more the child keeps doing all of this, it certainly prepares them for that unseen world which they are going to get into. Secondly, how do we embed these skills in our curriculum? So I'm showing you an example from A level economics. Okay. And this is what we call as a syllabus guide for those parents in the room who have studied economics at their undergraduate or postgraduate level. You will be able to identify with some of the topics, but the way we want our learners to actually look at these topics is not just through rote learning or memorization, but through the ability to analyze, synthesize, and implement what they are learning into their assessment for sure, but also the real life outside. And this example that I picked up from one of the assessment papers for Cambridge Economics, the AS level, that is grade 11, you will see the kind of questions that students get. It's not to test whether they have the knowledge about it, but it's to see whether they are able to apply that knowledge in a question which is asking them to think in a complex situation. And that's what we covered about systems thinking a while ago. At the same time, the child needs to know the basics, the fundamentals, the knowledge, what we spoke on one of the future skills report in a clear manner. Only then they are going to be in the position to connect the dots. And to do all of this, what we do is we give students the support, the teachers the support around the teaching, learning, the thinking skills related aspect. The resources or the books what we provide the learners with are quite engaging to help them go beyond the normal curve of learning for an exam. And giving some more examples, this is an example from English general paper which students take at the end of grade 12 as an English language subject. And you will see it may seem very simple for a lot of us, but let me just decode it for you. The student is expected to write a 600 to 700 words essay. Now imagine a student is writing an essay of that long. Okay. So to write an essay of that long size, they really need some good chunk of information with them. And when I say information, it's not just about writing multiple paragraphs, but also critically thinking about the topics given to them. And if you look at the topics, what they are from different aspects of life, the different domains of life. Something from history, something from political science, something from economics, science and technology, sociology, psychology, communication. Now, the more the children will be exposed to gain knowledge around these areas, the more they will be in the position to think rationally when they face situation like this in their real life. Another example from economics again, it's an MCQ paper, but the way the questions are designed, it's to critically make the child think about what's the best possible solution. I could see there were some of the questions in the chat box about competitive exam. Now, when the students are preparing for the competitive exam, the students really need to know what's the correct answer for sure, but what are the odds as well, and in that given time span. And that's where the skill sets play a major role. The students may know the correct answer, but if they're going to spend, say, 10 minutes on one question, they're certainly not going to imbibe the other essential skills around time management, critical thinking, problem solving in a given time span um, to help them get on from there. Last example, which I have for all of you, is from, I think it's the second last example from biology. And I think most of us must have heard about these topics on pathogens, antibodies during pandemic. But this is something our Cambridge A-level biology students have been learning for many, many years now. But if you look at the question, it's not just asking them what is antibodies or what are pathogens, where are they found or what is the use of it, but it's also to make them critically think about why this treatment does not prevent people becoming ill if they are infected again with the same pathogen. Now, here, the child needs to know what are antibodies, what are pathogens, um, why are they thinking about it from the lens of human blood donors, what is the situation like, and apply their thinking, their knowledge in this situation. Now, imagine this student further goes ahead and wants to give a competitive exam and also becomes a medical professional. It's to not make them just know the knowledge, but also connect that knowledge, the correct knowledge, the co-constructed knowledge, as I mentioned earlier, with the essential skill sets, which the workplaces are going to demand. And I could see there were some questions in the chat box which were about how do we prepare our learners with those skills if they are in a Cambridge school on a daily basis. As I said earlier, make them good thinkers, make them read more, make them ask more, make them ask effective questions. I think to be able to reach to a level to learn a curriculum like this, which is quite fascinating, quite engaging, which assesses their true skills and knowledge and understanding. It's a kind of a everyday practice, everyday drilling that they need at home and at school. And last example, this is from global perspectives. But if you look at it, this is, I think, something that all of us, most of us do at workplaces, analyzing Excel sheets, analyzing the data, and how will this actually be interpreted? Now, imagine students doing this, finding solutions. And if you look at the questions at the bottom, there are two questions. Calculate table 5.1 by calculating the case fatality rate for Yemen. So, of course, they are learning about what's happening in different parts of the world. Number one. Number two, suggest why large outbreaks of cholera occurred in the countries listed in table 5.1, but there were less few cases in most of the other countries. This is a true example of what systems thinking is. It's not just about reading the statistical data that they have in front of them, where maths would come, but they will also need language skills to suggest measures, but they will also need the skills which they must have picked up, say, from biology, which they must have picked up from their geography class, which they must have picked up from their global perspective class, to combine all of it together. And this is kind of a true example of how we prepare the learners for the best opportunities outside. Coming to the last part of the session, Cambridge also offers these three important support to the students when they are in IGCSE A level specifically, and I'm going to talk to you all a bit about it. First and foremost, it's about the Cambridge Insights Alice. Okay, now this is a diagnostic assessment that we give it to the students when they are in grades, when they complete, say, their grades 10, 11, that is the age group. It's primarily for students who are um, in the post 16-year age group. And when I say ALICE, it's basically assessment of learning gain in sixth form. Now, sixth form, if we look at it in the UK, it's kind of that transition year after 10th grade to 11th grade. Now, in a hindsight, and I'll give you all the information and the links for you to access this. If your child is currently in IGCSE, that is grade 10, you can request the school where your child goes to have these assessments handy, because what you're going to get out of this is quite fascinating. Okay. Now, this assessment, the ALICE, it is basically a non-verbal ability test to provide the objective data for teachers, for schools, for parents, and also the students. It certainly helps the students to know where are they lacking, what are their strengths, what are the learning gaps, and it prepares them to overcome these challenges with stronger outcomes. I'm sure all of you in the room would agree. 15, 16, 14 years old, we are still learning a lot. We ourselves are exploring what are our likes, dislikes, strengths, limitations. So that is a crucial age where a lot of decisions are taken for the students, sometimes by the adults or students themselves. And one of the most critical decisions we take as a community for students in this age group is the selection of subjects. And as a teacher myself and a school leader in the past, I know the trouble and the stress and the struggle we all go through to select the best subject choices for the students. That's what makes this assessment quite, I would say, critical and useful, but also the Cambridge Advanced Level program, because a student who wishes to do something different, the portfolio of subjects that we have for them is quite useful. Like a student may take up English, mathematics, psychology, and chemistry, and then think of the career aspirations further. Now, we still have this mindset that no, if you get this much percentage, this specific stream is meant for you. No, I think the world has changed long time back. And if we don't give those opportunities to our learners, we're certainly curtailing them from seeing what best can they do with their potential. And this is something I have as a personal quote, that if a fish is asked to climb the tree, we are certainly not doing justice to the fish, because fish is probably a good swimmer. And at the same time, if I ask the the animals which can climb the tree really well to swim in the pond or the sea or the ocean, we are doing injustice there as well. So think about this. I think as parents, you make the best choices for your learners, for your children, but knowing what they're really good at and where can they get more support, what are their strengths. Using this Cambridge Insights ALICE assessments, you will get loads of insights, loads of understanding, which is objective data to help you take the best decisions. Secondly, when I talk about the IPQ, which is the International Project Qualification, it's quite a fascinating qualification which we have for students at advanced level. It's primarily a skill-based qualification. And when I say qualification, it is assessed. When I say program, it is only learned. So the advanced level is a qualification within which the students also have this option of taking IPQ. And IPQ is graded as per the same standards how we grade the Cambridge advanced level. It's not quite famous as of now, but I have taught IPQ, rather mentored some students in the past as an A-level teacher. I would say many years ago, and it did give the children that opportunity to be independent researchers, critical thinkers, problem solvers. And the most fascinating part over here is the students take their own topic. Okay, they choose a topic of their choice. So it could be uh, why are we still the same question, for example, is knowledge more important or skills more important? Imagine a 12th grader, 11th grader wanting to do a mini research work around that. To do that, the child will have to get on with loads of surveys, independent research, read a lot, but at the same time they're going to complement it with their own understanding from different subjects that they are studying at A levels. And the outcome of this process will certainly be around writing a 5,000 word report and a research log. Now, you can imagine writing a research report is quite consuming enough, both time wise, energy wise. Now, imagine if our students have done that already in their 11th and 10th grade. how prepared, or I would say how more prepared, how excellently prepared they would be when they get into the universities, where assignments are always around research, thinking out of the box, challenging yourself. So all these higher order thinking skills that we spoke about, say analysis, evaluation, metacognition, breaking assumptions, finding conclusions, all of these things certainly need to be taken beyond the standard examinations that students do. And this is one of the beautiful opportunities we give students when they are in grade 11 and 12. So if you are thinking of Cambridge Advanced Program for your child, also think about the IPQ, because that's one of the fascinating qualifications students can get as an added advantage before they get into the university. Lastly, the AIC diploma, which is the advanced level diploma that we have for the students. It's basically the Advanced International Certificate in Education. And this diploma is an international pre-university curriculum and examination system, which we have inbuilt with our Cambridge advanced program. Now, to earn this diploma, students must pass a combination of subjects where global perspectives is kind of compulsory subject, and they should have studied mathematics and sciences, languages, arts and humanities. Now, there are two options. Students can keep their subject selection only around physics, chemistry, bio, math, and English. If they have aspiration to get into the STEM programs, be it NEET, JEE, or they can also have a breadth of subjects like this for themselves and qualify for the AIC diploma. Now, why did I spend time around this is these essential pre-university readiness certainly help students to get into the universities in a stronger manner. And this is a sample certificate which our students get at the end of their Cambridge Advanced Program. It's a 2-year program, as I said. So the small caps that you see are basically the grades for only the AS level qualification, that is advanced subsidiary, 11th grade in general terms. Whereas the advanced level qualification, you will see it in the capitals. And something that always catches my eye is the one who's signing this certificate form. It's signed by the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cambridge. So the weightage that this certificate carries, this qualification carries, is quite strong. And that's the reason our students are ready to pursue their aspirations, their dream careers, their further studies, their higher education, wherever they want in the world, be it in their home country, where the universities, the colleges accept the students from Cambridge schools, or anywhere outside India, depending on their aspirations. So I'll be giving you all some more resources around this towards the end of the presentation, so that you as parents and the students themselves, and also some of the teachers who are attending this session, can go through this and see the beauty and the readiness that we give the students with at the end of the A-level program. Lastly, we wanted to find out, this is quite fascinating basically, we wanted to find out what university admission staff members they around the world, okay, they look for when they're selecting the candidates to enroll them in the universities. And we also wanted to get their views about the Cambridge qualifications, in particularly the advanced level program when the students are entering the unis. And to get this thing done, what we did was, oops, so sorry. Yeah. To get this thing done, what we did was we surveyed around 130 higher education admission staff members in 10 countries, including the USA, the UK, Australia, and Canada. And you would be fascinated to see what you see on the screen. It's certainly the overall academic achievement, the kind of academic journey the child has had. However, I would also like to mention that it is a journey. It's not just what the child has got in the end. So if your children are still in grade 6, 7, 9, make sure that their journey looks beautiful and not just the end product. Secondly, the character traits that the students picked up throughout their learning journey, the values that they picked up, how motivated were they? How were they able to think out of the box? Were they good communicators? Were they good collaborators? These are some of the essential elements that university officers, admission officers, they see. Someone asked me about, is English compulsory in A level? Well, it depends on what programs or what I would say studies they wish to take up in higher education. In a lot of schools, what we see in our country is students take English general paper at the end of grade 12 to get that equivalency of studied English at 11th and 12th grade. But the proficiency that the students would have around English language, because English is the lingua franca, it's the academic language they are going to need in the universities. Students really need to have a stronger hold on that. And with the Cambridge programs, right from early years till A levels, we make sure that students are able to access the English language at the highest potential level. Most importantly, it's not just the grades that the students get in the subjects that they select, but also their deeper understanding that they have. And through all the examples I gave you so far, you would have seen how deeply we get into finding the nuances of each subject. It's as simple as peeling the onion. You keep peeling it till the time you get to the core. And lastly, it's about what kind of experiences has the child had, has the learner had when they were in these essential years of their end of school journey. How much of volunteering have they done? How much of extracurricular activities have they done? What kind of hobbies did they pick up? Did they learn a new language? Did they learn a new skill? All of these things matter a lot. And coming to the last part of me not saying this, but of course, getting to know from our students and the university admission officers themselves, how students were prepared. And this is one of the anecdotes and testimonials that we have got from a student, Ananya Vepa, who is currently an undergraduate student at the Kriya University, and she happened to be a former student from the Inventure Academy in Bangalore. She studied the IGCSEs and the A levels, and what she says is the Cambridge curriculum allowed me to study subjects not just limited to one area, but also based on my interests. And Cambridge taught me how to learn with an open mind. And I think that's really critical in today's time. How can I be open minded with the knowledge, the information available so freely outside, which has helped her to adjust with the rigor in the university? I had this one video. It's also on the YouTube. I think the link is not available on the screen. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this link in the chat box so that the parents and the students who are in the room can watch this video. And it's quite fascinating to hear Niyati. She is a student who studied IGCSE and A levels in Mumbai from SVKM International School, and now she's at the University of Warwick. How the Cambridge advanced level shaped her learning journey and how she is now ready to tackle the challenges by connecting those dots from one subject to another and be much more than prepared for her university years. Alongside this, we have got ample testimonials from school heads who have been our strong ambassadors of Cambridge programs and qualifications, and they have seen multiple batches of students passing from their school, completing the Cambridge IGCSE and advanced programs, and how are they doing really well in their university and in their real life right now. So, coming towards the end of this session, this is our official website for Cambridge. What I would suggest all of you in this room is please have this link handy. I will also be sharing this link in the chat box so that you all can keep this link handy to find out more about the Cambridge programs and qualifications. Some of you as parents who have got younger children who are studying in primary or say lower secondary years, it would also be useful for you to know what is Cambridge doing around the education fraternity. And if I can quickly navigate through this, I've shared the link with you. This is our official page, but here you will get to see our programs. And we did talk about the advanced level program today. Please go through it at your ease with your students, with your children, with your schools where your children study, to know how can we work together in partnership to facilitate good teaching and learning for our younger children. And all the information that I spoke about, be it ALICE, be it AIC Diploma, IPQ, all of it is mentioned here. You will be able to see the syllabus as well, the what is covered in different subjects, because I could see there were some questions. Does this program cover syllabus for specific courses? All of it is available. Along with that, I also spoke to you about Alice, the assessment which can help you to understand where is my child right now and what can I do more with my child's ability and where can I support my child further. Last but not the least, on a friendly note, I'm giving all of you this Cambridge help page. This is one page which I think you should personally keep handy with you to know anything that you find where you are stuck. So one of the important aspects which we did cover was recognition. Where do children go after their A level or the IGCSE program? It's right on our website where you click on programs and qualification and you will see the aspects, the icon over here on recognition and acceptance. And you will be able to see how different countries accept students from Cambridge schools who have done Cambridge programs and qualifications, and what are the requirements of each of these countries. So if you are primarily sure that your child is going to study in India, I would also recommend you to go through this destination website page where we have put loads of information around how do admissions in India happen after the student completes their advanced level program. So that's pretty much from my end. I'm quickly going to go to the Q&A section because I feel the questions which were coming in the chat box were also answered during my presentation. Meanwhile, I would also request you to please share your valuable feedback with us so that we also get to see what more can we do to support our parent community and our student community in their learning journey hereafter. So I'll keep the QR code open till the time I quickly go through the questions. Thank you. I could see someone was quite excited to be a part of this session once again. Thank you so much for attending it. In India, for stage 1 learners, it's a question from Ms. Lalita Maladi. The school's using stage 2 books. Okay, so don't worry about that. Stage 2 is basically year 2 as per the UK board. In India, we call it as grade 1. So stage 1 is primarily what students usually study in KG classes. If it's an earlier school, they do the earliest 3 program. In grade 1, they are ideally supposed to work around stage 2 because that's how the curriculum is mapped. So your school where your child studies is actually doing the correct thing. So don't worry, Miss Lalita. Okay, this was, I think, one of the answers. Well, what after A level? So as I mentioned towards my last slide, Anson, Ben, uh, post A levels, it's quite an exciting journey for children where they feel they are more prepared with the right set of knowledge, understanding, skills, qualifications. And we have got ample such testimonials from our students, the universities where they have studied, from parents as well, to help us know did it actually help or not. So the student's journey is quite open-ended over there. The student can select liberal arts or subject which are more towards combining different domains and disciplines together, or they can get into the streams which are well set in our country or outside as well. Like say, if they want to get into medical sciences, then they need to study physics, chemistry, math, biology, and English in their grades 11 and 12, depending on what they wish to do thereafter. Yes, Mr. Sunny, I have covered that question already. If you are already on the call, that is for you. Are the teachers in schools in India well trained to apply the same Cambridge curriculum as in the UK? Now, we need to understand one thing, Ms. Vidisha. Every country has got their own set of educational systems. Like if I talk in India, in Indian schools, the teacher needs to have a B.Ed, M.Ed, the teacher training qualification. So in our Cambridge schools, teachers are appointed with these qualifications. But at the same time, when schools offer the Cambridge programs, like IGCSE and A levels, the teachers have to undergo trainings and workshops to equip themselves with the teaching style, the assessments, and how do they cater to the learning experiences of the students. So it will differ from country to country, but yes, in our countries here in South Asia, that there are multiple professional development opportunities which the teachers undergo to equip themselves to teach the Cambridge programs and qualifications. Mr. Bharat, I think I've answered your question. How The syllabus teaches the skills to apply in the real world. Is English a mandatory subject for A level? As I mentioned, it depends on what course do the students wish to study and which university do they wish to get into. So English then becomes a mandatory subject. In most of the cases, students do learn English general paper, which is 8021. It has got reading comprehension and essay writing skills, which they do at the end of grade 12. Some students also take up what we have got 9092. These are some technical terms I'm using for English language paper. It's a for 2-year program if they wish to study English literature or if they wish to get into humanities at a later point. I'm sure the school in which your child studies will be able to give you more information about the programs they have built within their own schools. Okay, Miss Asna, I think I have covered that point of how our teachers are well trained to cater to the different learning requirements. And what I shared as a synopsis of our future skills report, the outcomes of that are already included in the teacher training program. So the teachers are also well equipped to handle the queries from the students and parents. So which Cambridge books to be used? We have got Cambridge University Press books in most of the schools, which are the endorsed publications from Cambridge. It helps the children to learn the curriculum with the right mindset of what is expected in the Cambridge programs. So what do Cambridge do? So Ms. Tanushree, I get your question. So Cambridge has got the annual reviews done in schools to find out whether the schools are actually offering the Cambridge programs at the best level. There are audits which happens time to time to see whether the teaching learning is happening to the best potential. However, we also need to understand one thing. If we consider South Asia as a region, or India as a country, or Sri Lanka as a country, Nepal or Bangladesh, Bhutan, each country has its own different demographics. Okay, like the school in, say, Delhi will be certainly different from a school in Bangalore or Chennai. There are the cultural, the local context which would influence the teaching and learning. And I think we also need to be cognizant of the fact that schools thrive well when we keep their individuality in place. So we are a residential school in Thimphu, Bhutan, grade 7 to 9 in 2026. We would like to start Cambridge International Education. We would like to introduce flagship courses of Cambridge Global Perspectives, Wellbeing and Environmental Management, along with core English, Math and Science. Please advise. So Mr. Birendra, that's a beautiful array of subjects you're giving to your students, because they really need to get to know what's happening. Like, I'll give you a very good example. I was talking to someone the other day from one of the schools where they were talking about climate change education. How do we prepare the children to become more aware about the climate change and their actions, their decisions uh, around all of this? And the future is certainly going to demand that. And new jobs are going to come. I know one of the students from one of the past schools I taught in is pursuing something called as environmental engineering outside India. Now, to learn some of these subjects, they need the fundamentals across different subjects. And in that case, your marine science, your environmental management certainly plays a good role. But think about it from this lens as well. Imagine a student who wishes to become an entrepreneur in the future, okay, and has only studied economics, business studies, accounting, and has got no clue of how communication happens, or why is geography important, or environmental management, as we said, will certainly find something challenging when he or she will come up with their own product portfolio to cater to the customers in the region, because everything at the end has to be interconnected. And that's the reason students, when they take different subject combinations at their AS and A level, the ability for them to do the systems thinking, as we said, or connect the dots, is quite stronger. Okay, I have a question, not a question, but a good response. I think it's one of the student probably who has answered this, stated this, named Shweta Udyakumar. I had this question in my past paper. So good, I'm happy you could recognize that, Shweta. Kudos to you. Um, well, that's a kind of a thought which a lot of parents also have, that to crack NEET or JEE, you need to have specific subject domain only. What we are doing in Indian schools specifically is those students who wish to get into a career option where they are going to sit for competitive exams like NEET and JEE. At grades 9, 10, 11, and 12, that's IGCSE and A level, they will be having something called as a bridge course. Okay. And this STEM pathway related course that we have introduced in schools, your schools are, by the way, aware of this. You can speak to your school teachers. It's primarily to complement the learning that the students do in international Cambridge program. And wherever there is an additional requirement of, say, some topics, some concepts, it is mapped out very well, and the students get that additional learning experience without having to leave a Cambridge school till their advanced level. So I would request you to please speak to your school leaders and get some more information around it, around the bridge course that we have. Okay, I think about Cambridge's global competencies and the readiness at the global level and at the local level, I have covered that as well. Um, yeah, I get that point around the teaching learning experiences. They would certainly differ from one place to another, as I gave the response a while ago, because each geographical space that we have in South Asia would be different. Okay. However, if you see the learner able to connect the dots and is in the space of applying their learning in an unfamiliar situation, I think your child is picking up really well. Are there formal tests or continuous assessment? Now, it depends on how the schools take it up in grade one. Most of the schools in our region over here, they do a blend of both formative assessments, that is continuous assessments, and paper pencil test as well. So there is a blend of both that we guide the schools to do. Is subject counseling available? I think you will have to speak to your individual schools, because the schools will have their own university counselors, the admission officers, who would be able to help you with the selection of subjects and the benefits of advanced level program in a longer run. Will the recording of the webinar be shared? I think so, yes. Once you fill the feedback form, you will be getting a link of the recording. It will be on the YouTube as well. Okay, the recordings are on our YouTube page. If you go on our website, you will see there is a YouTube page link where all the recordings are put together from the past and even this one. So teaching, I'm not going to comment much on that. Teaching certainly happens in a blended manner. There are some topics, some concepts which you need to train the children to think around. So don't get carried away by thinking everything is always hands-on learning. Now, there are some fundamental concepts which you need to listen, comprehend, and understand. So schools certainly put together different methods of learning, and not just that every learning is in the form of an activity. So I think we need to be quite balanced with the way how every learner learns in the classroom. For more information on our Cambridge IGCSE A-level program, please go through the website link that I have shared. You will get loads of information around how are we covering the different topics, the assessments, how is it done in a detailed manner. Um, Comparing it to the national boards, I won't comment on which board is better than the other, but I can certainly say one thing, starting from the first activity we all did together about the future of learning, the way we learned and the way our present generation wants to learn and how will they thrive in the future space. I think that gap which was there about, are we learning for only the exam or are we learning to actually take it back in the real life? I think that's what makes Cambridge stand out really well. Well, I have this question from Aditya, which is talking about the Cambridge syllabus is quite heavy. Yes, it is. It is challenging because it makes children think beyond the obvious. It's not just about 10 chapters and 20 question answers and just go and write in the exam. And that's the reason I think a lot of them feel that there is a lot to learn. Now, remember, if they don't learn a lot at this age, when they actually have a lot of time to engage in the learning experience, they will be bombarded with loads of learning and unlearning when they get into the university. So let's look at it as conceptual learning and not just learning for coaxing or rote learning the content. Okay, I see some comments as well. Yes, IELTS will be required depending on what program the student studies and which country the student is going into. I think your counselor will be able to help you with the details around this. Well, the programs are quite interesting. There is one question on how can we make the programs more interesting. I think the more you start now connecting the different aspects of the programs and qualifications, you will be able to see how we actually bring all of it together. Knowledge, fun, enjoyment, learning, exams, readiness. It is well embedded in totality for the learners. There is a question, Cambridge is not following JEE or NEET curriculum, where just to make sure no board follows JEE or NEET curriculum. JEE and NEET are competitive exams which students do after a certain stage of their school journey. So we have got loads of testimonials. It's there on our website where students have studied the Cambridge IGCSE and advanced level program. Let's not forget one thing, Mr. Dhey, that to clear the competitive exams, you certainly need the knowledge, which I mentioned. Along with the Cambridge International Advanced Level, we have the bridge course as well for those students who want to get into the competitive exam space. But it's also the different skill sets that they would carry along with themselves. Okay. Most of the questions are around school level. So I would certainly request you to please talk to your individual school, maybe around the different subject choices, the different learning needs your child has. I gave you all the information that we have with Cambridge as a board, as a curriculum body, as a curriculum organization. Please take this information back to your individual schools, have the discussions with the school coordinators, the teachers, the counselors to get more understanding of how is Cambridge done in individual schools. Yes, the bridge course will be available soon for AS and A level as well. Right now, it is there for 9th and 10th. Thank you for pointing that. It is going to come out in schools by early December or by January. Where about the grades required and the overall performance required, I think your university counselor at the school will be able to tell you in detail, because for different universities, different colleges, there is a different value that is put up. So if you are aiming to get into, say, a university where they provide you with scholarships, it is really important to know which university is the child going to get into. So kindly make a note of that, and also look at the recognition and acceptance page that I had shared the link in the chat box. You will also see those different destinations and what kind of credit policies are in place to support the learners to get scholarships for their higher education. So we have got, as per the AIU, Association of Indian Universities, the different universities that we have in India, Mumbai University, University of Delhi, the different public and private universities in India, except the students from IGCSE and A level. About scholarships, sorry, but I'm not the right person to add any incremental information over there. I would highly recommend you talking to your school counselor or the university admission support that you have in your individual schools. Library will certainly help, because I think that is one of the skills which students have forgotten now, and they don't see value in reading. But I think as parents of today's generation, please get your children back to the reading skills so that they are not lost from that touch of love for reading. Not a question, but a feedback. The learning at the school has been so good that my son refuses to consider any other boards regardless of the implications. Thank you so much, Mr. Amit. That really helps us to get some positive feedback of how the Cambridge program is supporting your child's learning journey. Okay, I'm just going through some questions and some common parts which I have not answered yet. About the trainings and qualifications, Cambridge, for teachers, Cambridge certainly has got ample training programs and professional development opportunities for the teachers. But as a parent, you can certainly speak to your school heads to know what kind of Cambridge trainings have the teachers gone through in the recent past. Of course, we have the trainings going across the academic year. So there would be always a possibility that the teachers are continuously engaged in their own trainings and upgradations. Well, I think I have covered most of the questions. I'm just looking at the questions which are given around trainings and all right. So if you are still in the room, I can see there are around 130 participants in the room. If you all can give a thumbs up if this session was useful for you uh, in any sense, to help you gather insights, to help you get information around how you can actually support your child's learning journey with the Cambridge Advanced Level Program. We'll be more than happy to get your feedback, and I can see loads of thumbs ups coming up. Some questions are still there around 8021 and 9093. It's 9092. If your child is doing AS level English general paper, please make your child do that subject at the end of grade 12. Can general English student do IPQ? It will be a little difficult, but certainly there is no harm in giving it a try. At least your child will pick up the essential writing skills, the research skills required in a longer run. Yes, Miss Priyanka, universities don't differentiate students if they have come from Cambridge school, so do not be worried about that. About how Cambridge curriculum is different from the other boards, I have given a subtle response around it, but I'm sure what we talked throughout the session for the last 1.5 hours was more to help you also analyze and make those comparisons around how is Cambridge doing what they're doing differently and why are they doing it differently. We have a strong research backed with our practices and our principles in place. Okay, I'm going to take a last question by Miss Sarah. This is a good question. How can we cultivate interest in cultivate students' interest in subjects so that they have because they have least idea about that subject or what field they want to get into. Some students are still stuck. Well, as parents, or I would say as educators, you know the children better. Okay, knowing their likes, their dislikes, their interest areas, where can they actually do well, what are the challenges they face in. Please make sure that whatever they study with an intrinsic motivation, they study with enjoyment, they study for the love of learning, and not just to clear an exam or competitive exam or a graded exam and then get into the university and then the work life. Because when they turn back from the 10 years or 15 years, 20 years from now, they should always feel that, yes, whatever I learned, it has certainly helped me to become a better human being. And it has helped me to become the version I wanted to be. So, Miss Sarah, thank you for bringing up that as a last question. As parents, please make your children those critical thinkers, as I said, effective communicators, someone who would ask loads of questions, be inquisitive, and channelize their self regulation skills so that even if there are various disruptions they see around them, they will know what their focus is. And on that note, thank you so much for being here on a Saturday evening for good 1.5 hours. It really means a lot for most of you who are working parents and also those parents who had a holiday today to find out your valuable time and be with us. I think this was a kind of a giveaway from us to all the parents and even the children in the room on this Children's Day at Cambridge. So thank you. We wish you all the best in all your future decisions. And please do reach out to your schools to know more about the Cambridge programs and qualifications, the advanced level program. If your school is not offering the Cambridge advanced level program as of now that you have got the essential information at your address, you can always go and talk to your schools to make them also feel confident about the Cambridge advanced level program. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend ahead, and we shall see each other at another webinar soon. Have a good day. Bye bye.